Welcome back to the Blue Corner. My name is Dennis, and today we have a very special guest who's come all the way from north of the border, Queensland. She's a professional boxer with a professional record of 2-0 before the COVID put a hold on everything. And I'm talking about none other than Elli-Bliss Reynolds herself. How have you been, and how has life been treating you?
Really good. We are stoked to be able to come across the border, finally get out of this lockdown period. I'm stoked to be down in Sydney, which has been a long time coming. Got to see some sponsors and come see some friends and family down here, so it's been really good and so blessed to be on the podcast and see you finally. It's been a real exciting period, especially being able to come down and see you guys.
Now, was it hard to cross the border? Like, was there any sort of like applications you had to put in, or was it, you know, what are kind of the restrictions at the moment between Queensland and New South Wales?
So at the moment there was pretty much nothing from coming down from Queensland to New South Wales. It was, you just cross and there was like nothing on the highway. On the way back, however, was a bit of a nightmare. It would be like an hour extra traffic. I know for down here it doesn't seem too much, but for Queensland we don't have much traffic. So an hour extra was like, I don't even want to cross the border, but we did go down just to like grab something off Marketplace and buy something. And then on the way home was like an absolute mission. And I didn't think to grab a border pass, even though I like researched it. And apparently we needed one. And we went down in a car that has the New South Wales plates. So they were not impressed with us. But it was fine on the way down. So then this time the restrictions were lifted a little bit, and then I think on the 10th it gets lifted even more. So you don't have to have like a border pass as such. You just need the like a declaration, I think. So on the way home we'll probably have to fill out something, but it's not too hard for the Queenslanders to move compared to New South Wales. So we've been pretty lucky that way.
Which is kind of weird because to begin with, it was Queensland that were really strict on the borders. I remember like we were like Western Australia are opening their borders, you know, Victoria have got their borders open, and Queensland were very firm on the fact that they weren't going to open the borders. And now obviously Queensland have opened their borders.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It seems like it's really strict. And then
we got Melbourne, who are now the hot spot that Melbourne's like the bad sister that nobody wants to talk to right now.
Yeah, 100%. I don't know. Queensland's very weird because we're like strict in some areas, and then you come to New South Wales and it's like, oh, wow, you guys are so strict. But I feel like Queensland's pretty lax compared. But I think because we had like such minimal cases as well, considering Queensland's quite big. So it was pretty lucky for us to be able to move, but it was like at the start we're all panicking, and then we're kind of like worried, but now it's pretty lax up there. Everyone's like shopping and mingling and shaking hands and hanging out, hugging, whatever. So we're pretty lucky it's gotten a bit more lax.
And so how have you kept busy during this lockdown period? Because, you know, like I talk to a lot of people and some people have just totally fallen off the rocks.
Yeah.
Let themselves go and all of those, and then you speak to other people. I had Sam Goodman on the other week, and he said like there were days that he was doing like 6 sessions in the one day. So how have you handled this whole lockdown period, and how have you been keeping busy?
Well, I know it's been like a tough time for some people, and like I can't brag about how good it's been, but I'm going to anyway because it was amazing for me. The first 2 weeks or a week a bit, I had a bit of time off because we were training for a fight, and I'd just come off the New Zealand fight. So we were in a camp, fought, and then I went straight back into camp. So my body was definitely feeling it. And like, I think it was more my mental state. I was like just in a constant state of fighting. So it's good to be able to like go on the back burner and just go back to technique and stop worrying about my fitness as much. So we got to go back to the drawing board after like about a week and a bit off. But I enjoyed it so much, and I found I probably grew the most in that time. I got to worry about how much I was sleeping, how much I was eating. I didn't have to worry about going to work. Like being a pro fighter isn't essentially just being a pro fighter. It's working, having your boyfriend, having your mates, having your trainer on your back, and being able to train every day and still have a full-time job to be able to provide for your career. So it was really nice to be able to just like kick back, actually have a rest and then train and then rest and then train. And I just, I was really dedicated through that time. And then, as you would know, our Luke Jackson did the David Goggins challenge and stuff. So yeah, we were one of the other people that were inspired by that. However, Shane, my coach, was like, well, we're not runners, we're boxers. So we're going to do a boxing challenge and we're going to do it every 3 hours. We're going to do a boxing session for 52 hours. So we did that in the middle of ISO, and that was like awesome because it kind of broke that state of mind where training a few times a day is hard. When you train 18 times in just over 2 days, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times a day you're chilling. Like the 18 sessions was definitely a bit of a mental breakthrough. So we did that, and I would love to do it again just to see how far I can push myself, because I definitely felt that mental breakthrough. So yeah, I was really blessed through ISO to be able to kind of do these things that essentially through like full-time work, I wouldn't have the time to do it. So we did that, and we got to be able to go back to the drawing board and kind of suss out who we wanted to fight as well, because not everyone was matched up now, because beforehand it was kind of hard to be matching up with people because everyone was already matched. So this time we're like, oh, well, I wonder who would want to fight us after this period, and we might do the rematches, or we'll try and start organizing things with different people. But yeah, it was really good to be able to just go back to the drawing board. I really enjoyed it.
And with that challenge, what was some of the harder things to do with that challenge? Because I know, for instance, Luke, he's a good friend of mine. And he tried to up the Dave Goggins challenge, and he did the, was it 5.575?
Yeah, that was hectic.
And to him, I mean, I'll let you know, at the end of that, he actually was feeling it. His knees were shot. But
yeah, I can imagine.
He says that the hardest thing with those challenges isn't the actual run or anything like that. It was the waking up or the fear of missing the alarm clock. So even though that your challenge was different, did you have the same worries? And was that a struggle as well to be getting up, I guess, at, midnight or at 2 a.m. in the morning just to do a session? Like, what were some of the challenges with your challenge?
Well, I think, I think the biggest one was being worried I would sleep through the alarm, because for me to fail like that, I'd be so gutted. Like, I hate putting a challenge to myself and then failing because I did something wrong. So, I think I was like only half asleep, when you're in that light phase of sleep and you kind of like, I've got to wake up soon. Like when you're ready to go to work, you're like, oh, don't be late. So I was like half asleep, but I was worried about not waking up. So I'd just have like a little lay down, and then my alarm would go off and I'd be up. But I think most of the time I was kind of excited, because I was like, all right, I'm going to break this time. Let's go. I want to see if I'm going to break this time. But I think like it was pretty funny watching my coach get up. He's like, he was as dedicated as I am, if not more. And like, he was getting up at 12 a.m. and being like, oh, I just don't want to do it. And like, I'd be like, all right, I'm going to start the session. You just sleep in a little bit more. He's like, yeah, I'll be down in 15. I'm like, all right, that's cool. Because he doesn't have to do anything. He just has to like tweak a bit of technique and tell me what to do. But I was just down there skipping, chilling, shadow boxing, just put on like a little bit of Latin music, just chill. It was good. And I kind of just got to flow. Like I wasn't in my head about anything. I wasn't like, oh, technique. Oh, I wasn't worried about anything. I was just like, just get through the sessions, one session at a time, get in the flow state, and you'll be sweet. And then you get to rest. And I was like, actually, you know what the hardest thing was eating. I was like, I love food, but eating enough to be able to train that much was so hard. I had as much calorie dense food as I could, but I just felt so sick in between, because you don't want to eat too closely before training. So I'd had like powdered carbs, like oats, honey, everything, protein shakes, like every second. Oh, it was disgusting how much I had to eat, but then try to sleep enough. But your food kind of has to be more than your sleep, because you don't have time to fully decompress and lay down. So I was trying to eat enough, and that was probably the hardest bit. But I actually really enjoyed the training side. And then I started to feel like a bit of my joints starting to ache, and my knuckles were starting to blister, and I just ended up having like blood vessels burst all over my knuckles because of just hitting the bag or pads and stuff. So it was like, all right, well, we're going to do some no contact stuff and just work on popping my shots and and skipping and shadowboxing and be a bit more like methodical instead of actually working my body too much in like the middle phases. Like we kind of went down and just worked on a bit of no contact technique and then came back up towards the end and did some pads and running and that kind of thing when my body was okay. And we did an ice bath in the middle of it, which was death, as everyone knows what ice baths are like. So we did a really cold one, and that was probably the hardest bit of the whole thing. But it was really helpful. So I was like, all right, we'll get the ice bath done, and then after that I'll be sweet and I'll be able to keep going. So then knowing that the ice bath helped a lot, I'm probably going to do another one and just keep doing ice baths and I'll be sweet. But yeah, it was a good push for every little bit, like eating enough, sleeping enough, training methodically, listening to my coach. And it's just like all the things you have to do in camp, but condensed.
And how was it in regards to your relationship? Was your partner in on the challenge? Was he just cheering you on from the sideline? Or was he just a nuisance for those couple of days because it was like, because you don't get much time, right? Like, no. And this is the discussion I had with Luke, is like everyone sees it as in, 5.75, but it took him a good hour for the run, which leaves you 4 hours. And then, as you say, you got to eat, you got to sleep, you got to do all of that. So yeah, in your relationship realm, how did that all sit?
I'm really lucky. He's really supportive of me. So whatever I say I'm going to do, he's like, okay, you do that. I'm going to help you. It's cool. So I said to him, I was like, this is what's happening. I don't know if Shane's told you, but we're doing a challenge and it's every 3 hours. So I'm going to have 2 hours break in between. And in my head, I was like, I'm sweet to do things on my own. I'm like, all right, I'll be fine. I'll just like pack all my lunches and my food and everything. I'll race home and sleep and like have all my water, all my shakes ready. And I was like, yeah, I'll be prepared. This will be fine. And then I didn't think about the fact of like losing sleep and training hard, that you kind of get a little bit delirious. So driving wouldn't be a good idea. And I didn't think about that. We're only like 15 minutes from the gym, but it's like you're going 80 Ks on the road and it's like, it's a little bit scary if you're quite a bit tired. So my coach was like, nah, you're not driving. And then calls up him and was like, hey, you're going to have to pick up Ellie later tonight. Can you wake up at 12 and wake up at 3 and wake up at this time and just come pick her up? Because like some of the sessions I just did at the gym and then I slept at the gym. It was just easier at night. I was just like, I'll just put up a mattress and have a nap and then come back down. It's just easier to wake up as well. I got more sleep. So he was at home sleeping for about like 3 or 4 hours before he had to come back again. And he did, I think he did one session with me to kind of just help me through the night, because the days are easy because you're supposed to be awake, but the night is when everyone's asleep. There's no noise. There's no one looking at you. There's no like cheering on. It's just like me and Shane grinding out in the gym in the middle of the night. So it's like, it's hard when you have to just grind by yourself. But Brad came and helped me, which was really good. And I had a couple of like mates come and train with me. And like even boys from the gym, they're like, yep, we'll come train with you. I was like, you're a legend, because like in the middle of the night, you start to question yourself. So yeah, Brad was really good through it. And he even like brought me food. He's like, do you need anything? Do you just want a pillow? Even if I was sleeping at the gym, he would come and help me out. But yeah, like I said, he's really supportive. So I'm really quite lucky there.
And was there ever a time that you doubted that you'd make it through the challenge? Like, was there ever like a time that you kind of hit a brick wall and you had to push through, or was it like all go?
The whole time I was like, I'm going to get it done. I don't care if I'm like crawling to the line. I was like, no, this is happening. And like, it's funny because even at the start, my coach was like, I don't know, we'll see. Like, I love how he just pushes me. He's like, he knows the reverse psychology is working. He's like, I don't know, Ellie, you might not do it. I was like, nah, screw him. I'm definitely doing it. So I was like, no, I don't care what you say. I'll get it done. I was like, I might be like in a lot of pain, but I'm getting it done. And he's like, okay, we'll see. And it was funny because the last session that we did was a pad session and I was still like hitting pretty solid. And he was like, you actually hit pretty hard. Like you still got everything in your legs. You still feel strong. You're still switched on. And I was like, yeah, I'm sweet. I was like, we got more? I was like, do you want to do extras? Let's go. And he's like, all right, let's go abs. And he's like, let's do your extra set. I was like, sweet, I'm on, let's go. And like, even because I was crossing the finish line, it's so much easier when you're at the finish line. I was like, let's just go to the rest of the day. I was like, I want to go again. And then after we did that, I was like, okay, I'm definitely doing this again and making it way harder because I want that break. I want to be like, no, I don't want to do this. It's going to be so hard. But like this one, I was just excited the whole time. So yeah, it was like I just kind of backed myself because I knew that I've got to break at some point and I just got to keep backing myself. And then even when I break, I've got to keep backing myself because if I break in a fight and I'm not backing myself, I'm done. So just got to push that mental state of mind.
Which is exactly the Luke Jackson story. I mean, when he did it, the original challenge was the 4.4:48, and then he did the cheeky extra run just because he wanted to beat the 4.4:48. And then
so
exactly the same thing. He was like, well, I'm going to do it again, but I'm going to create a bigger challenge. And that's when the 5.5:75 thing came about. Yeah. But back to you. So we'll talk about your early kind of days. You started with MMA.
I started with boxing.
You started at boxing?
Yeah.
Okay, so when did you start at boxing? And I guess how were your parents at the very beginning of you saying, hey, listen, I want to punch some people in the face?
Well, I think I was 14, and just me and a friend of mine were obviously hitting puberty and started to get a little bit chunky. So we were like, oh, well, let's go lose some weight. And she's like, oh, I heard of this place and we can go do boxercise and lose a bit of weight. I was like, sweet, let's do that. Because it's hard to be in school, be cute and like try and fit in and everything and train and whatever. So we're like, yeah, we'll do boxercise. And so we're doing that for a bit and I instantly loved it. I was like, this is something else. Like I've always been a bit aggressive. Like I've played soccer and I was like a bit more aggressive instead of being more technical. And then I played rugby and then water polo. And so I was like always been like, just like progressively more aggressive. So naturally I ended up with combat sport. And then, yeah, we're just like getting fit, getting healthy. And then the coach there was like, oh, well, I've got an event coming up. Do you want to fight on it? Just like an exhibition. I was like, yeah, I'd love to. So I did that and I was like in the fight team. So yeah, that was a good next step. It was definitely a push when you're about 14, 15. I was like, wow, I've never worked this hard before, but I liked it. I was like, this is something else. All right. So I just kept pushing and then I just kept progressively falling more and more in love with it. And I was introduced to MMA from an old boyfriend and he did MMA and I was like, nah, it's a barbaric sport. I was like, psh, like you just meet heads. So I just thought, oh, boxing's so much more classy and like I'm above that. And I was like, nah. And they're like, come on, just try it. Tell me you don't like it after you tried it. I was like, okay. So I tried it and I was like, okay, I actually like this. This is kind of fun. So I ended up doing that. Did that for like, I think 2-3 years. And then after I met my current coaches, it was just like, yeah, a lot of shuffling between gyms and stuff. We decided that we'd go back to boxing and dedicate my time just to one craft at a time and then see what happens from there, really.
Which is kind of crazy because I had a look at your two MMA fights and you obviously won them both. And like usually, you know, like I would find that had you dropped one or two, then you might go, okay, let's concentrate on one discipline. But you were actually doing really, really well in the MMA space.
Yeah.
And I guess that's kind of weird. But do you also remember the first time, like going back to your first exhibition match, do you remember the nerves leading up to that? Did you have nerves and how did you react to being punched in the face for the first time? Because, you know, it's one of those things that it doesn't matter how much you train and stuff. Like,
it still sucks, yeah.
Right?
No
like once you get in there and you get hit for the very first time, it's a shell shock. It really is. And do you remember that? Like, or were you too young to kind of pull that back?
Oh, no, I remember it, definitely. Well, we'd sparred in the gym a lot and everyone was kind of not a lot bigger. Like there was a couple of people that were bigger than me and then a lot faster, a lot more skilled. And like I was at the bottom of the food chain. So I just pretty much got bashed every day, but it's fine. And yeah, like sparring, I'd be like, all right, probably gonna get my butt kicked today. This is cool. And there were so many times I just broke and like I'd just cry in the ring because I was like, I'm just getting bashed. Like as a woman, you just instantly feel emotional. I was like, what is happening? I'd get like anxiety, all of it, like 15. So you're like emotions, hormones, everything's running high. So yeah, it was pretty hectic to start with. And then the exhibition was against one of the girls that I was training with. And she was a lot better than me, a lot older than me, a lot stronger. And she just bashed me, and I was like, wow. And everyone's just egging her on to bash me, and I'm like, we're teammates. Like, why are you hurting me? And she was like so strong. I was like, oh my God, she's probably going to knock me out or give me a blood nose. I don't know what's going to happen. It was scary, but I think like as time gets on, you're like, all right, I'm going to get punched in the face now. Let's go. All right, let's do it. But back then I was like, I'd shit a brick, and slowly you get used to it. It still sucks. I don't enjoy being hit in the face, but you slowly get used to it and less like flinchy or less like nervous. I still get like a little bit of nerves before fights, but nowhere near as much as I used to. I think it just comes with experience and like just knowledge that everything's going to be okay.
Well, I did have a chat to a fighter from the States, Lorenz, and he always said, look, you're always going to get nervous. The only time you wouldn't be nervous is if you're a psychopath. He said, but as you get on with your career, you learn how to channel those nerves, right? Yeah. So like at the beginning when you have those nerves, it's very hard. Like you're just a wreck. Where, you know, as you get on with your career, you'll start to realize you can like take that nervous energy and feed it into like, I guess, more excitement and so forth. But yeah, it's kind of crazy because as you say, like you do a lot of sparring. And I'm not saying everyone's a good person when it comes to sparring, but most coaches will always say, all right, well, let's spar at 60%. Right. And so it is always still different once you get into the, because that 60% just goes out the door. Not to say it doesn't happen in sparring either. I mean, I've had a few people and, you know, the coach will go, let's do 60%. And they straight away come at least 80, 90%. And it's usually, I guess, the newer people because they don't realize. Yeah,
they can't control it.
They can't control their punches. So it becomes a bit harder. But anyway, so you had your 2 MMA fights. You won both of those. And then you kind of, I guess, took a year off in a sense, right? Like, because I saw that your MMA fights, I think, were 2016, 17.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Right? You were inactive for, and when I say inactive, I'm sure you were training, but you were inactive for 2018, and then you picked up the professional boxing in 2019. Firstly, I guess, what were you doing in that year that obviously you weren't fighting? Was it just trying to transition? Because I know obviously they are totally different sports, you know.
Between MMA and boxing?
Yeah.
I was training MMA for a while. I was training in Brisbane at Southside MMA, and like the goal was just to keep fighting and do that. But I met my head coach now, Manny, and he came just like for just like a special guest trainer, and I was like, this dude knows something. I have to go there. I was like, he just knows something. I'm going to go there. And yeah, I ended up training with him, and then he's like, oh, my striking coach is moving here. So I was like, oh, sweet. It'd be good to meet him too, because I wasn't really doing any striking as such. I wasn't doing like the separate like BJJ wrestling and striking. It was more just like MMA kind of jumbled all up. So I was like, awesome. I'll be able to meet this guy and he can show me some striking. Manny can show me wrestling and MMA. And so we did that for a while. And I think because I come from a boxing foundation, naturally I like it because I'm better at striking than the ground game. That's just what would happen naturally. But they were like, well, why don't you progress in the boxing field? If you like that more, then why don't you just go there and we can come back to MMA later and we can do some jiu-jitsu later. So we decided to do that, and the whole time I've been training, but it was more just like transitioning and building my body back up to be able to train every day, because when I did my last MMA fight, I grinded pretty hard and my body was definitely feeling it. So I had to kind of go on the back burner, stop doing weights, stop like overworking my body and let myself like just rest for a minute. And then we slowly built back up. So now I can train full time and not burn out. But that took a while. And then we started to change it from MMA to boxing. And I said that I wanted to go pro in boxing because I like the style of it and I can make myself like a name there. So we decided to start training pro. I had no fights lined up, didn't have anything like on the horizon. But we were just like, we're just going to train pro, because if you train like an amateur and then go pro, you're going to see the evidence there. So we were like, all right, we'll train pro for a while and then we'll turn pro at the end of this year or whatever. And we had some complications actually having the debut, like 2 times the fight got called off. Like the first time I was sick and ended up in hospital. The second one, she didn't have her blue book, which you need to have in New South Wales. So that didn't happen. When she flew over, everything was there. Didn't fight. So like 2 times the rug got pulled underneath me and I was like, all right, well, I don't want to fight her anymore because obviously this is just a bad egg. I'm not doing this. And so then my coach turned around. He's like, yep, we're fighting. I was like, nah. He's like, yep. I was like, do I have to? And he's like, yep. Okay. So we finally debuted like 4 months later. I was like, oh my God, this is so long. This is insane. I just want to get it over and done with. By this point, I was just like, I don't even care anymore. Like, it does not matter anymore. Like, I just need to get it done. And then from there, I was like, well, now I just want runs on the board. I just want to keep fighting. But we had this year planned out to be like constantly fighting. I was like, yep, sweet. This is going to be a good year. And we had like 2 fights on the horizon. Then we had this last minute one pop up. So we did that and then everything kind of got shut down. So the whole time, like, yeah, I've been training and working on my skill the whole time, and I haven't had many fights, but I've been doing this for about 7 years, if not, I think it's almost 8 years. So I've been doing the work, just not in front of the shiny lights, you know. I've been underground, so it's been good to be able to work still.
And with the first cancellation, you said you got sick. Was that just as in you got sick, or was it something that went wrong with, say, the weight cut, or what?
No, I just sick. Like I just had like, I think I just overworked and didn't eat enough. I think like my nutrition was definitely my downfall. Like Shane knows how far to push me, and he knows my body, and he knows fighters really well, and he knows like how to train you to come up. So it was more that I didn't have enough food in my system to be able to keep up with it, and then my body just run down. And as soon as it starts to get a little bit run down, you start getting like sicknesses. And I ended up just getting like, I think I had like 3 things at once, and I was like just shattered. It was bad. I don't get sick like ever. So I was like, no, I don't feel good. And he was like, no, just push through. I know this is a hard session. Like we'd done a really hard week. And he's like, no, it's okay. Just push through. And I was like, no, I'm really not good. And he was like, okay, all right. And he goes, all right, just slow it back down then. And then that night I was in a lot of pain. So we decided like, okay, we're going to have to pull back. And then I ended up in hospital. So yeah, I was like in and out a few times. So then we realized like, all right, well, health is priority right now. Don't worry about fighting. Don't worry about anything. Just get healthy, because there's no point trying to grind and get to fighting fit if you can't even walk around the house, you know? Like I had like hectic fevers and like vomiting. Oh, it was the worst. I was like, I felt so bad because I didn't want to pull out of a fight. It's the worst feeling. You like let down your opponent, you let down all these people that want to come see you, let down the promoter, your coaches. Like it's the worst feeling. So I was like, I don't want to pull out. I want to pull out. I was like, I'll be fine. It's just fine. But it was like 4 weeks out, I think. I was like, no, it's sweet. And I'm like, just getting out of hospital. I'm like, damn it. He's like, nah, we're not fighting. I was like, okay, well, I'll just go with whatever you say. But I'm so glad I didn't. It would not be a good idea.
And with the transition from MMA back to boxing, was it hard to make? Like you say you had a boxing background, but obviously, I mean, I'm not going to call them bad habits because just, you know, they are different sports. So like even from the stance, you know, like my coach always says, like in boxing, you're more side on because you're not worried about someone shooting for the leg, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Did you find that transition back to boxing easy, or were there moments that, as I say, I don't want to call them bad habits, but whatever habits they are, was it hard to kind of get back out of that?
I would say it just takes a lot of time to drill in certain movements. And I trained with Paul Briggs for a while doing boxing while I was doing MMA, and he's like really big on technique, and he was showing me similar things that Shane was showing me as well. So I'd already had quite a few things drilled into my body that it wasn't exactly like hard to get back out because I already had the movements, already knew what was happening. It was just like making my body do them again instead of being like a little bit more flary on my elbow or just being a little more tucked and just like small things. I don't know. I think like maybe the temptation of going for a double leg or like going for a leg chop or, like especially like dirty wrestling, like boxing and stuff, where you can kind of like wrestle with their head and, throw a cheeky shot in there. But
a cheeky little leg kick or something.
Cheeky little elbow. No. No, so I was like, okay, well, all right, only 2 hands. That's it. You only got hands, you can't do any kicking, no nothing. So it wasn't like hard physically, I guess. It was more hard mentally because I was like the boxing ring was right next to the mats and I'd just be watching the boys roll. I'd be sitting there like, well, that's not me now, is it? Like it was really hard to kind of separate myself from that. Like I'm okay now. I still get like a little bit antsy, like I want to go on the ground and roll and stuff. But I think it was more mentally that was the hardest part. But naturally, my body's like tuned for boxing because I've been doing it so long. So it was more going into MMA was the hardest bit. But yeah, going back into boxing was pretty good.
And are we going to stick with boxing now, or you think you'll ever take an MMA fight again?
We'll see. I'd love to go back to MMA one day. I'll see what's on the cards. I think like I might have my boxing career and then end up having babies, and then I'm like, oh, I don't want to fight after having kids, or I don't know what's on the cards. So I would love to fight at MMA again, but I think I'm just gonna play it by ear. Like I don't want to hold on to it too much in case it doesn't happen, but I'll see. Like I'll work with my team and see what is the best opportunity for me and what's the safest opportunity, because I don't want to come out of fighting with a bung face or like problems that live with me for the rest of my life. I want to fight and then get out and be squeaky clean,
And did you ever consider like trialing for the Olympics before you turned pro? Was that ever like a goal of yours, or was straight to pros for you?
When I was younger, I wanted to go to the Com Games, like the 2018 Gold Coast Com Games. I was like, yep, I'm doing it. This is what's happening. But then I don't know what changed me. I think I saw someone pro, or I don't know. I can't remember what it was, but something in me, I was just like, no, I want to go pro. Like, I don't want to do this amateur crap anymore. Like, blah, blah, blah. Like, this is just, it's all politics, man. I was super fed up with it. I was like, nah, I'm going pro. And then from then on, I was like, nah, I don't really care for amateur. Like, I don't even know how many amateur fights I've had. Like, I just didn't really care for it. I thought they were just a bit more warm-up fights for the pros. And, like, as much as people have done really well in the amateurs to go to the Olympics and the Com Games and do all that kind of stuff, it was only in my mind for, like, 2 years or something. And then I was like, nah, I'm done. I'm just going to go pro. Like, this is not my scene, the amateur fight. I think because it's very high-paced and not methodical at all. Well, it is. Like, I can't say it's not, but when you're in the lower ranks, it's just like go, 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 because you're fighting 2 minutes. For the women, like 3 2-minute rounds, or sometimes I fought 1 minute rounds, and it was just like a sprint. As much as you can punch, that's all you have to do. It's like your bag sprints. It was so bad. I'm like, I don't want to do this. This isn't fun. This isn't like technical. This isn't about my boxing IQ. This is just as fit as you can be. I'm like, this isn't boxing. This is crap. So I was like, I'd rather fight more rounds, be able to be a bit more methodical, and like actually work a game plan or have like good boxing IQ and work on that more than just being fit. So I think pro was just like pretty much always the goal after those 2 years.
And how was your trip to New Zealand? I know one of your 2 pro boxing fights was in NZ. How was the journey? And also, how does it compare to fighting at home? Like, did you find that there was more pressure, less pressure because, you're in enemy territory, or, you don't have your friends and family, or maybe they traveled across, or, how was that experience? I mean, it's a little different because sometimes when you hear about these international fights, they also got to, worry about time zones and stuff like that. So you obviously didn't have that problem being New Zealand. We're pretty much the same time zone. But
there's about 3 hours difference.
But how did you find that? That whole experience of traveling over into enemy territory and obviously picking up the win as well. But
I loved it. It was great. I like that little bit more friction when you're going into enemy territory. It's a bit more of a challenge. I like it. It was a last minute fight. So I think, we were training for a fight for Punch Bowl on Paul's card. So we were training for that. And then last minute they were like, yep, do you want to fight in New Zealand? I was like, okay, why not? Because this year the goal was to fight as much as possible. So we were like, let's take it. And we knew that she had more amateur experience than I did. I think she was the New Zealand champ. So that was kind of interesting as well. Like, I've fought no one, like I've had 15 or so fights. So I was like, all right, sweet, this is going to be interesting. So we did that. We accepted it, and then we went over, and I was like, oh, okay, it's not really international because it's just New Zealand, but everyone's like, oh, wow, you're going
but still,
international,
I mean, you've got a flight that you need to deal with, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, they're not going to put you in business class, so you've still got a 3-hour plane ride where you're squished up, and as you say, there's a 3-hour time difference, and I'm sure there's a temperature difference as well, especially to Queensland. Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, it is international.
Yeah, I think I just downplay everything because I'm like, it's not a big a deal, it's whatever. But yeah, I've realized how much it takes a toll on you when you start traveling. You got to do a weight cut, but like we got there at 2 a.m. It would be the same day as we're weighing in. So I had to get there that 2 a.m., go to sleep, get up and start weight cutting. And it wasn't a bad weight cut or anything. It was more just the fact that we got in so late, and then we couldn't get into the apartment. There was like a bit of a mix up there. So that was another thing. I'm just sitting there like shattered, and my coach is just worrying about it. And I'm like, oh, I don't care. I'm just going to sleep here. I'll just sleep on the waiting couch. This is fine. And so that was like a bit of an interesting point of the trip. And then the next day we got up to go weight cut, and we just went to this random hotel and just go for a sauna there.
Do you cut much weight?
No, not really. Like 2 kilos really. Like we don't usually cut too much, just a little bit. And keep it in the healthy range. But the weight cut was easy. Then we had weigh-ins. That was easy. Then we just rested, chilled. Like I was cruising. It was such a good little trip. I was like, oh yeah, I'll be able to see a little bit of New Zealand. Like I did not see any of New Zealand, I won't lie. I was just in the room the whole time just sleeping or weight cutting. So we did that. But we had weigh-in, went and ate, best thing of my life. And then the next day I just chilled. We did a bit of a pad session, just warmed up a little bit. Then I had to sleep, but we were scheduled to fight at a certain time, and we're like, all right, we'll be there about an hour before we're scheduled to fight. Sweet. And then they gave us a call when we were both having a nap, and they were like, all right, you're going to be on soon. Where are you? And they're like, he's like, what are you talking about? We're at the apartment. We were asleep. So we rushed over to the event, quickly wrapping my hands, and like before we'd even wrapped, they were like, all right, you almost ready to go? We're like, no, what? My hands aren't even wrapped. So at this point, I'm stressing out, but like on the inside, because I was like, I don't want to make the whole show late just because I slept in. Like I thought it was my fault, because I was like, oh no, I should have been here hours before just in case this happened. And I thought we were like really prepared, but it was like, oh, the fights like went really quick. There was like quite a few knockouts that night. So we're like, oh, quick. And then we got there, and they had to have an intermission so we could wrap my hands, and wrapped them. I like moved around the room for like a minute, and then I had to go out. So there was no warm up, no nothing. But I spar all the time with like barely any warm up. So I was like, this is what I do anyway. So I wasn't like freaking out. I was like, this is what I usually do. Let's go. I'm ready. And jumped in and then warmed up in the ring. So yeah, it was an interesting experience. It was good to kind of be in enemy territory for one, also be rushed and not have like the warm-up experience, or like I can't start my my career off having to have this perfect routine, because you never know what's going to go wrong. Like the fight could have been cancelled the last minute. I was just expecting like something's going to go wrong. I just got to like think like that just in case it does. Otherwise I'm going to be gutted. So I was like, well, I just have to see if something goes wrong, and like until that bell rings, the fight's not on. Like, I don't know, something might happen. She might get sick and then we can't fight. So I just thought there's no point being worried. There's no point being stressed. I was like, I'm just going to do the weight cut. I'll chill, warm up a little bit. And then when the bell's ringing, that's when we're fighting. So I was like chilling most of the time, to be honest.
Yeah, which is, I mean, look, it really is, especially when you're talking about national circuits, it's always the case. Like if it's televised, you will get a specific time, right? Because they've got TV commercials, they've got production packages and stuff like that. But when you're just fighting on local circuits, I mean, we do production for a lot of the MMA stuff, and it's exactly the same thing. You kind of like plan it out. But, you know, if the first 3 fights are like first round finishes, like it's like everyone starts to have to move in. So it's a tough one to judge unless it is a televised event. But yeah, did they at least put on a haka for you?
No, they didn't. But it's fine. It was like awesome to be there. It was pretty cool. Having everyone with the accents, I was like, this is cool. Just like being out of Australia, being out of like my comfort zone. I was like, this is awesome, and everyone was so lovely there. Like, when you're in enemy territory, you kind of expect, oh yeah, they're probably going to boo me. Probably not going to be too impressed when I win. Like, it's fine, whatever. It really doesn't bother me. And then after, everyone's like, yeah, congratulations. Like, so happy for you. It was such a good fight. And I was like tripping out. I just looked at my coach and I was like, what is happening? And he's like, it's all good. Just ride the wave. I'm like, cool. Like, thank you. It was uncomfortable. I won't lie. Like, I'm not used to having people back me up and be really nice. So I was like, oh, cool, thank you.
No, look, I mean, their culture is really good. I grew up in New Zealand, so I actually moved over there as a kid. And I actually copped it both ways. So when I moved over there, I got the whole like accent, count to 6, you know, say fish and chips.
Yeah.
Right. And literally did my schooling over there. And once I was done, I actually moved back. But by that stage, I had converted and I had the Kiwi accent, right? And so as soon as I got back here, I got the exact same jokes again, right? It was like, count to 6, say fish and chips. And I was like, this is getting old,
man,
right?
I've said fish and chips way too many times these 6 years.
Exactly, right? So, but I mean, the culture over there and
so
they
lovely.
it's a totally different experience. I can't speak like highly enough of my time over there. If I was to have children, I always say I would love to be able to raise them over there.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
It's a really good country, you know.
Yeah.
And we like to, as I always say, we like to claim them when they become successful.
Yeah, definitely. That's part of us when that's.
So anyway, like there was a big break now with 2020. You know, everyone's nervous about what's going to happen in July now because it seems like every month something new has come about.
Yeah.
But like in a perfect world, what's your kind of plans now for the rest of 2020?
We're just trying to reschedule the same fights that we already had matched up. There's the neutral corners one that we're hoping for in the next few months. There's like no definite. I think there's like a most likely going to be soon, but like we're just going to train for it, and then if it happens, it happens. But if we train for it, then okay, just train more. Like it'll be good. And then hopefully, I think maybe November, there's another one. I think it's the Queensland title that we're going to go for. I think they'll probably be the only 2 fights unless something last minute pops up and it's a good fight to take. But so far, that's what's on the cards. And then the next year, we'll probably just try and get as much as possible.
Okay, and with the fights that you potentially got lined up for this year, have you already got opponents in mind, or you just got what cards you want to fight on?
No, we've already got the opponents not locked in, but yeah, they're penciled in because like they were already fights that were lined up. So we've got like Amber Wright fight in Sydney and then Beck Hawker, hopefully I think it's Brisbane maybe. There were fights already lined up, and I think they really wanted to fight me already. So like I'm going to take it if they already like got their eyes on me. May as well give them a piece of it.
Nice. And do you do you watch a lot of fights as well? Like and when I say fights, both boxing and MMA, like did you watch like the Maloney brothers fight a couple of weeks back? No.
I didn't. I saw some clips of it. I was so gutted I missed it. But no, actually like it's embarrassing to admit, but I don't watch that many fights. I think mainly because I was working full time and then training, and then I'd have to be sleeping or spending time with my partner. And on the day off that I have, I'll try and see my parents, and like fitting in all this stuff in the short amount of time that I've got was such a mission. So I was like, well, when am I going to do this? I'll be like at my mum and dad's and the UFC's on. It's like an epic card, which is actually happening next weekend. There's like an awesome card on. And I'm like, all right, what am I going to do? I'm going to be sitting at the table with mum being like, yeah, I'm interested in watching this fight. Yep. Okay, cool. But it's like, I never see her. So I'm like, oh God, I can't be rude and look at my phone at this fight. So it's like.
Which is crazy because this weekend it's the first one at Fight Island. And they've got like, I think 3 title fights and the rest of the card is actually pretty stacked. It is going to be really good.
I think I'm probably going to have to get away some point and just be like, Mum, it's really important to me. I just need to quickly get away and watch. But I think like now, because I'm dropping back from working full time and I'm just going to work one day and do my PT and stuff and be able to train full time. I've got that time to be able to study more and like, I watch some fights of like the old boys back in the day and take some work from them and like, just like little snippets of stuff that I can pick up, but I don't necessarily just watch all these different fights. Like my coach will be watching all the fights for me and go, all right, you need to watch this, this and this, or watch this, or he'll send me something like watch this snippet, or like he'll be like study this fight. So he kind of does that for me. He's like, yep, here you go, look at this. But now I'm so excited I can dedicate myself more to my craft, which is the whole point of dropping back from working in the salon. I can actually dedicate myself to what I want to do as a career and use that time to study and better myself all the time.
And are you one of those kind of fighters that goes in with a specific game plan with your coaches, or do you prefer to like go in freestyle and not be bound to a game plan?
Bit of column A, bit of column B. We usually will know what the other fighter is strong at and what they're weak at. So it's like, okay, we'll go for what they're weak at and defend what they're strong at. But also they might change their game plan up, or they might have been working on something else, so they might be getting better at defense or whatever. So we've trained like all different stances, all different like positions of the ring. Like we're not always like, we'll just come forward the whole time, because then what happens if you get backed up? Like you can't just rely on the one fighting style that you like. So we train like everything, because I want to be comfortable in there no matter what I'm doing. Like I want to be comfortable if someone's like this big brawler and be like, all right, I can just outclass you, it's fine. Or I might come in with a boxer and I might be the brawler and like come in, like I want to be comfortable no matter what's going on. So there is an element of game plan, but we do like to go off the fly, because you just never know what's going to happen.
And now growing up, is there any athletes you've taken inspiration from, like, and it doesn't need to be fighting. You mentioned you played soccer, you mentioned you played rugby. Like is there, Sam Goodman the other week, he said he took a lot of inspiration from the latest Michael Jordan documentary about like the whole mindset. Is there an athlete that you really look up to or get some sort of inspiration from?
I'll be honest, no. I see the girls at the top and they do really well. Like, actually, no. Oh, I lied. Wei Li in the UFC, absolute beast. I respect her a lot. And Joanna Jędrzejczyk, they're both beasts. Like, I just love their work ethic and I respect them a lot. But growing up, not really. Like, oh, actually, no, Shotgun O'Connell. She, I saw one of her fights. She was like wearing fluorescent yellow. And one day I was thinking in my head, I'm like, be so good to grace the ring with her one day. I'd love to fight her or like just spar with her or whatever. And she's actually been like one of my sparring partners for quite a while. So it's like, it's funny how I've looked up to her and then all of a sudden I'm sparring her all the time. So she was one of them. But I never really was like, wow, at anyone. I just was like, this is what I love doing and I'm going to do it. I think I'm more driven because of my own ambitions more than seeing someone else and being like, oh, I want to be like them. I'm like, no, I'm going to be the best I can be. And this includes blah, 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 blah. So I just keep driving until I get what I want,
No, I totally get that. But I'm just saying, like, as I said with Sam, it was the mentality of, say, Jordan, right? It was, I think you mentioned some sort of story that he, in college, he was like, I'm going to be better than everyone else and I'm going to work as hard as everyone else. And his coach said, well, then you're not going to be better than anyone else, right?
You got to work harder,
You've got to work harder.
Yeah.
And that's where I guess Sam took the inspiration from. And as I said, like, during this off time, he's now done like 6 sessions a day and this and that. So you know, and that's what I mean. Like people take inspiration from different areas. It could be Tony Robbins, right? Like totally out of the realm of sport. Like I'm just saying, like, is there somewhere where, you know, sometimes when you've had a bad day or you're getting owned in sparring, because we all have those days, right? Some days you go to the gym and you're beating everybody on the mats or in the ring. Then other days you're just not getting it right and you come home and you're deflated. Is there anyone, and I mean it could be your partner, like is there anyone that sort of draws you back up when the going gets tough?
Yeah, my coaches, definitely. Yeah, my partner as well. But like my head coach, Manny, when I first met him, he's like, I see something in you. Like, I don't know what it is, but like, I want to see what it is. And he's always like, you can do better at this. You can do better at this. You can, like, he's very hard to please, which I like because then I'm always working hard. I'm like, oh, got to work harder. This isn't good enough. And then I don't ever want to let him down, nor do I want to let my coach down. So I know how much work they put into me. Actually, I probably don't even know like the other stuff that they put into me, but I see what they do and it's like, I'm going to make sure that I work enough to please the amount that you've worked, you know, like I don't want to come in half-assed after Manny's had his whole career and worked his butt off. Like I don't want to embarrass him and be kind of like half in, half out. Like I want to give my all and show him that I can do this and prove to everyone else, like I'm his student, I've done this, I've done that. And like I'm Shane's student and like they're really great teachers. So I don't ever want to let them down. Obviously I don't want to let myself down and like that kind of thing is like my personal, but yeah, I think it's mainly like I don't want to let my coaches down. And I know that my boyfriend's like really proud of me and I don't want to let him down either. So it's like I've got these men around me and I'm like, quick, don't let him down. I've got to keep grinding. I can't stop.
And how does it work, as we were talking about earlier today, that, you know, you did the MMA and you went to boxing where your boyfriend's actually done the exact opposite now. You know, is there a plan that you guys are actually going to follow the same path or do you think that you are kind of, you know, craftsmen in your own sport?
Who knows? I would love to see us both do MMA and then, or even both do boxing or whatever, because I think like we could really build each other up. He's a great supporter of mine and I would love to see him go as far as he can because I think he's really gifted and really skilled. So I would love to see him go the same way. I think we're at like kind of different steps at the moment. Like I've gone pro and he's still training and stuff. So he's still developing what skills he wants to bring into the game, or like if he's going to go into MMA or come back to like I don't know what's going to happen. So we're just kind of seeing where things take us, and no matter like really what happens, we're just going to keep supporting each other. So who knows? That
is until we have State of Origin, because I know you said you didn't follow the NRL, but you still got to you've still got to be a proud Queenslander, and obviously he's from the Shire, so he's got to be a Blues fan the whole way. So I mean, the tension at home must be pretty crazy around that time.
Yeah, he does definitely think that the Shire is God's country. I don't know where he got that from. So we do have the bit of a headbutt when it comes to that. Like I love Queensland. I'm from the Sunshine Coast, so I think like Sunny Coast is awesome. It's beautiful. It's quiet. And he's like, nope, Sutherland's is God country. And I'm like, shut up. Like, you know nothing. Here is nowhere near as good. So we always have like these little arguments where we're like, oh, whatever. I'm never going to be able to persuade him that it's better there. But here he is moving to Queensland. So it's kind of saying something, I think.
Well, the weather's definitely better up there.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Even though we have put on pretty good weather, it's probably the temperature change at the moment. But I mean, we got blue skies; it's pretty good. But no, you know, a shy boy is always going to be a shy boy, and I'll say that
many times.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess we'll start to wrap up a bit. I just want to know, like, who's your favorite fighter, past, present? Oh, I can't say future, but like.
Me would be my future favorite. This is a difficult one. Like I said before, I really respect Wei Li, but she's MMA.
And what is it about her that you respect so much?
She's just such a workhorse. Like, and she's not out there talking crap against people. Like, she spits some truth. Like, she'll be like, nah, I'm going to beat you. But she's not like fluffing her tires, or like she's not fake. Like there's no fake in her. Like, I don't see any fake in her, and I really respect that, because I don't like this big macho game like, I'm going to knock you out. Meh. Like I don't respect that. I think it's pathetic. So I'm like, oh, well, yeah, if you think you're capable of actually hurting them, yeah, sure, say it. But if you're just talking game, like shut up. That's what I think. But I think she's really respectful. Like she comes up to her opponents, like she's respectful, because like they're an opponent, which gives her the opportunity to do what she's doing. So you can't be disrespectful to your opponent, because like they're the only reason that you're there. So like I respect my opponents, but at the same time I still want to hurt them. And she's the same. Like she's just such a beast. Like you see her training and I'm like, she's so dedicated. Like it's not always about like I can punch as hard and as fast as this, but she's dedicated to doing the small things. Like she trains with this hyperfascia training guy. His name is Chong Zai, I think. Insane. Like I've never heard of it until recently, and I'm about to start it too. So she does all these like little things that most athletes don't think about, or like even just mental training, or just something like really small that give you that edge, because at the top level, everyone's training 3 times a day, everyone's eating well, everyone's sleeping well, everyone's doing the same thing. So it's like, what's going to give you that edge? And she has like all these little things that give you the edge. And you can see that in the last fight where she just whooped her. Like Joanna just got flogged, and Joanna was at the top for so long. So you can tell she's definitely doing something right. And it's like, oh, okay, she's doing these little tweaking things. And I really respect that she's going to the next level and not just staying like mediocre, or not mediocre, but she's not staying the same level as everyone. She's actually like getting better each time, which is really respectful.
I think Robert Whittaker's another one like that.
Yeah.
He prefers to just grind away and let his fighting do the talking. But
sure.
I guess where the major change was the Conor McGregor era, right? Like he came in, he obviously was good on the mic, and he made a lot of money doing that. And I think a lot of other fighters have seen that
and taken it,
because before that, I found that 99% of fighters were all about respect your opponent and this and that. And then when he came along, it kind of shifted a little bit.
It did, definitely.
But it is, because your time's so limited. And at the end of the day, as a pro, you're a prize fighter, and you've got to make as much money as you can, in as little time as possible, right?
Yeah, for sure. I just think like it's a reflection of you, and I want to go out and reflect the best version of me. I don't want to go out and be trashy, because I don't want someone to see me as trashy. Like I want someone to respect me, even if they're not a fighter or whatever. I want someone to look at me and go, wow, I really respect what she's doing. She's not trash talking. She's like representing the country well. She's representing her sponsors well. Like I don't want anyone to look at me and go, what is that girl doing? Because at the start of like Conor's crap, like what he's talking, it's like, oh, what? Like people are a little bit rattled. Like some people don't like it. Some people like it. Like he lost sponsors because of the trash talk he was doing. And then it's like he's also gaining sponsors. But I want everyone to be impressed when I come up on the ring or when I'm on TV. I don't want people to be like, oh, man. Like, unless they're an opponent, I don't care if they hate me. But, like, I don't want potential sponsors to be like, oh, that's disgusting. Especially as a woman, you don't want to see this chick being like, like, trashy. It's like, nah, I want to see a girl actually, like, pound someone's face in, but be able to have a genuine conversation and be a little bit more articulate than just, like, talking shit, you know?
And speaking of sponsors, are they hard to get?
Yeah.
Like I know you've got a couple. Like how hard is it to actually achieve that status where you pull in a couple of sponsors?
Hard. It's hard. Like I can't really compare it to the men because I don't know what it's like for men, but like I'm assuming like by what I've heard, it's a lot more common for people who want to see men fight as opposed to women, because like there's still the thing of like, oh, women shouldn't fight. Like it's not, I don't want to see women get hurt. And I understand that, yeah, because it's not ladylike to punch on, but it's what I do and I love it. So you either support me or you don't. And it's like when you see these businesses that are like, we'd love to support women in sport, just in sport in general. It's like, oh, wow, like it kicks me back a bit because I'm like, oh, that's actually really nice to hear. And yeah, like Powerbox with Bryce, he's like, he came up, I think like a year or two ago, like that's when he started. So I've only just started as well, but he's like, he skyrocketed because everyone's going, oh, this is good quality, it's good stuff. He was someone that actually like took interest in me in early on. So I really respect that. And I've reached out to multiple brands, and obviously there's like all these influencers that are like, oh, sponsor me, man. Like it's always like, oh, what can you give me? And I was always trying to like, reach out, but not seem really cliche. I'm like, oh, I'm a female pro boxer, and like I do this. I'd love to do this in fighting. I'd love to help out your brand, blah, blah, blah. But most people are like, oh, whatever. She's only 2-0. Like, oh, she's not got a big following on Instagram. Like, I'm not an Instagrammer. I don't really care. Like, I want to fight, and I want to help out my sponsors, and I want to have a good time during my career, but I'm not about like getting all this attention and showing my body off and all this crap that comes with it. I'm like, I just want to fight. So for me to get sponsors, they're like, oh, well, you don't have 15,000 followers. And it's like, what, does that matter? Like, I get why it matters, because obviously like they need the advertising. Yeah, they need that. So I get it, but it's like, it is my job now, but in my mind, my job isn't to get attention on Instagram or flaunt myself. My job is to get good at boxing and flog people. I don't want to be
no fans only account?
No way. No way will you see me there. No respect there. Nuh-uh. So, but like, it's another thing, all these girls going out, oh yeah, I'll get an OnlyFans account. And then what, you just probably lost 5 sponsors there. What if they see you on there and they just saw you butt naked, and it's like, well, that was really not classy, was it? So it's like, it's hard to get sponsors, but it's like I think the only time that I'm really going to be able to like draw people in is when I've had like 5 or so fights. And it's like, it's upsetting because I want someone to be there from the start. So when I'm holding that championship belt, I'll be like, yeah, you know who was here at the start? Powerbox. You know who was here at the start? So-and-so. You know what I mean? Like, and no one's willing to risk that. No one's willing to be like, yeah, we'll support you. We respect what you're doing. Even if I had a loss on my record, they're not like, oh yeah, we'll support you. They're like, oh, it's just some girl, like just some person that got no followers on their Instagram. They just want like.
But I can totally respect that, because you know it's the same thing. I mean, you approached me to obviously jump on the podcast, and I respected that, like totally. I was like, you know, like for you to come out and just straight away say, I want to make something positive out of this lockdown. I was like, wow, like, because to be honest with you, that was the whole premise of this podcast as well, was that I was trying to do something positive out of this lockdown as well.
Yeah, you gotta.
And I respect that grind or that hustle. But so you do all your hustle yourself, or do you have like a manager or an agent? No, you just grind it out yourself?
Yeah. Well, actually, my coach and my boyfriend pretty much manage me at the moment. However, there's stuff on the horizon, but at the moment, at this current time, there's like Brad got me Powerbox. Like that's the only reason I work with Bryce, because like Brad's a good mate with him. So like he sorted that out, and then, you know, like Shane sorted other things out that I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Because for me to go to someone and be like, look at me, I'm so-and-so, like it's uncomfortable. Like you have to get used to doing that. But at the start, it's really uncomfortable. So when it's coming from another person being like, oh, my fighter's doing this, she's trying to be a professional boxer and like she's 2-0, like it's a lot easier coming from someone else that's reflecting all the positive stuff that you've done with them. But if it's you being like, oh, look at me, it's like you don't know if they're just being stuck up or just arrogant, or like if they're being genuine. Like I find it really hard to do that. So I was like, I tried to do it. I felt uncomfortable, and my coach was like, just keep pushing yourself, because no one's going to manage you unless you actually market yourself. So I'm like, all right. And that's why I reached out to people. That's why I reached out to you, because I'm like, well, no one's going to reach out to me. They don't know who I am yet. They're going to reach out when they know who I am, but no one knows yet. So I've got to reach out and try and connect with people. And it's been like, most of the time it's like, oh, whatever. But you get some people like you that want to actually support the grassroots people, and not just people at the top where they already got the exposure. Like you're actually doing something for the community and helping us out that are struggling at the bottom, you know?
Well, I wouldn't call it a struggle. It's just like when I see all these other outlets, I see that it's the same interview 10 times. And I just went like, I don't want to do the same thing as everyone else. I want to go a different route. And as you were saying before, like hopefully like once you do win a championship and you are at the top, you remember this, and I will still get that as well. So like it's not that I just want grassroots, but I'm at the same, I guess, what you were saying, where you want someone to jump in at the beginning and grow together, and that's what it kind of is. I guess the last thing with the agent is, you know, sometimes having a good agent is good because they already have these
Connections.
brands
Yeah.
in the back
Yeah.
pocket, and you know, they might be able to throw a bone because they're like, okay, well, I've already got 15, you know, boxes sponsored by this brand. Here's another one of my boxes, and it makes it a little bit easier, and it's just a little less stress on your behalf. Once again, they take their cut.
Yep.
Is it really worth it? Like the 10, 20% that they're charging? I don't know. That's obviously something totally different. But once again, I'm going to start to wrap it up. I do really appreciate you making the trip. I'd like to think that you made the trip just for this, but I know that you obviously had a birthday to attend.
Yeah, it was also very exciting.
And I hope that you don't have any problems getting back over the border on the way up. But for anyone that wants to get into contact with you, whether it's for a fight, whether it's a potential sponsor, what's the best way of people reaching out to you?
Through my social media would be the best. Like it's under Miss Elli-Bliss or Elli-Bliss Reynolds is my Instagram or Facebook. Or my email address is missellibliss@gmail.com. That's the best way to contact me, really.
All right, and there we have it. Once again, thank you so much. I hope that we can talk in the future once some fights actually start to occur again. And until then, we are done. Till next time.